Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, June 22nd, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gen. Before we begin, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. U.S. President Joe Biden has extended sanctions against North Korea by one more year, claiming Pyongyang poses an unusual and extraordinary threat to his country. Even so, U.S. Special Representative for North Korea Sung Kim reiterated the Biden administration's will for cooperation towards peace on the Korean peninsula. South Korea reports 395 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday, staying in the 300s for the second straight day. This comes as mass vaccination efforts continue across the nation. And BTS's mega hit Butter remains on the top of Billboard's main singles chart for a record fourth consecutive week, beating their own previous record set with Dynamite. For the first time since taking office, U.S. President Joe Biden has extended sanctions on North Korea. In a presidential notice, President Biden said that he will sign an executive order extending sanctions for one more year, with the current order set to expire on Saturday. Our Han Sung-woo has more.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday announced he will extend an executive order declaring North Korea's nuclear threat a national emergency for another year. In a presidential notice to the Congress, Biden wrote that, quote, "The existence and risk of the proliferation of weapons-usable fissile material on the Korean peninsula and the actions and policies of the government of North Korea continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States." Had it not been extended, the more than a decade-long order was to expire on June 26th. The presidential notice mentions a total of 6 executive orders, geared toward financially and economically isolating the regime through measures such as import restrictions. It is the first time Biden has extended sanctions against North Korea since taking office as president in January. The action comes during U.S. Special Envoy for North Korea Sung Kim's visit to South Korea, where he's been discussing with South Korean and Japanese officials on ways to make progress toward the complete denuclearization and establishment of lasting peace on the Korean peninsula. Biden's sanction extensions are being interpreted as a sign that the U.S. will not appease Pyongyang to try to bring Kim Jong-un to the negotiating table. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
Following the trilateral talks with Seoul and Japan on Monday, U.S. Special Envoy Sung Kim met with South Korea's unification minister this morning, where the two officials pledged close cooperation between Seoul and Washington to achieve denuclearization on the Korean peninsula and bring North Korea back to dialogue. For details, we have our Kim Dami on the line for us. Dami, give us more.
Mo-gen, Seoul's Unification Minister Lee Myung and U.S. Special Envoy Sung Kim have agreed on a shared commitment to pursue complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula through diplomacy and dialogue. Agreeing to Kim's pledge to talk with North Korea whenever and wherever, the Unification Minister underlined the importance of the resumption of a dialogue with Pyongyang. In order to do that, he pointed out that it's time for Seoul and Washington to make active moves through close cooperation in areas like COVID-19 closing efforts, reunions of war-separated families, and climate change. He further voiced hope that President Biden's policies can achieve a fruitful outcome with a bold and practical approach to the regime compared to any previous U.S. administration. Now, noting that now is a great opportunity, as well as a turning point for bringing the North back to talks, he once again urged Pyongyang to return to dialogue and the negotiating table. The U.S. Special Envoy Sung Kim couldn't agree more with Lee's remarks. Kim acknowledged that the two governments have remained in close touch throughout the Biden administration's North Korea policy review, and that the two are also closely aligned on all important aspects of the new approach to the reclusive state. Reflecting on the recent Moon-Biden summit and their leadership, Kim showed confidence that the two countries will continue to have tight coordination going forward. In line with what Lee said, Kim noted that this is a crucial moment for both Seoul and Washington, and that Pyongyang will respond positively to the dialogue proposal. The U.S. official once again made it clear that Washington supports meaningful inter-Korean talks, cooperation, and engagement, adding that he looks forward to ideas from Seoul as going forward. Now, before he enters a 5-day trip to Seoul, Kim will meet with South Korean President Moon Jae-in this afternoon and share details of the trilateral nuclear talks between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, as well as the meeting with the unification minister. That's all I have. Back to you, Mogyun.
Thank you. That was our Kim Dami reporting from the Unification Ministry. Now, South Korea and the U.S. have agreed to consider ending their working group on North Korea policy. The issue was discussed at the Seoul-Washington chief nuclear negotiators talks on Monday. Seoul's foreign ministry said they have also agreed to bolster director general level talks. Seoul and Washington set up the working group in 2018 to coordinate their policy on North Korea, including sanctions enforcement and inter-Korean economic cooperation. The North has previously criticized the group, claiming it hampers inter-Korean relations, apparently due to its strict criteria for sanctions waivers. Now, South Korea and Japan seem to have made little progress during talks on a number of thorny issues between the two geographical neighbors. Director General for Asia and Pacific Affairs at Seoul's Foreign Ministry, Lee Sang-yeol, met Monday with his Japanese counterpart, Takehiro Funakoshi. They discussed the Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor and Tokyo's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women. They also talked about territorial issues regarding Dokdo, controversy over Japan's industrial sites that have been listed as World Cultural Heritage Sites, as well as Tokyo's plans to release contaminated water from Fukushima into the sea. Despite no meaningful progress being made, the two sides agreed to continue dialogue. Moving on to the COVID-19 situation in South Korea, the nation reported 395 new COVID-19 cases Tuesday, staying in the 300s for the second straight day. Of them, all but 34 were locally transmitted. 2 more people have died, raising the death toll to 2,006. As for vaccinations, more than 4 million people have been fully vaccinated. Now, there will be changes to the country's social distancing measures beginning July. The adjustments are expected to provide some degree of return to normalcy for the public and various businesses. Here's Cho Won-jung with the details.
Businesses in South Korea are getting one step closer to being back to normal. With the new eased COVID-19 restrictions announced last Sunday, cafes, restaurants, and bars are looking forward to having more customers.
So far, only private gatherings up to 4 people have been allowed. But starting July 1st, people can meet in groups up to 6 people.
And this will be raised to 8 people eventually after a 2-week trial period in the greater Seoul area.
Due to current limits on private gatherings, there were a lot of difficulties running a business. But with the revised restrictions, we're hoping that this will help. I think our customers can eat with more freedom.
Under the new social distancing guidelines next month, the current 5-tier scheme will be switched to 4-tier scheme. The capital will start under the new level 2 social distancing, meaning groups of 8 can meet, and restaurants, coffee shop, and bars can stay open until midnight. This means bars in the greater Seoul area will be able to operate for 2 hours longer, which gives this bar owner a busier schedule.
2 more hours of being open means more time to have customers. Sales nearly doubled when previous changes were made from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. We are expecting to see as high sales as it used to be before pandemic.
He added that he will prepare more chairs for customers to sit for next month. However, the health authorities are still on alert, urging the public to keep wearing masks and indoor facilities even under social distancing level 1. Choi Won-jung, Arirang News.
With just a month left until the opening of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, local authorities have decided that up to 10,000 fans will be allowed at events, but they will have to strictly abide by stringent virus prevention rules. Kim Hyo-san has more.
The Tokyo Olympics will allow up to 10,000 domestic spectators at each event, despite the ongoing spread of COVID-19 across Japan. In light of the government restrictions on public events, the spectators' limit for the Olympic Games will be set at 50% of the venue capacity, up to a maximum of 10,000 people at all venues. Monday's decision came after so-called five-party talks involving groups such as the Tokyo 2020 organizers, the International Olympic Committee, and the Japanese government. It also clears up final uncertainties about the Games ahead of the July 23rd opening ceremony. Back in March, officials decided that no international fans would be permitted. Considering the rapidly changing face of the pandemic, Japanese authorities say there could still be a change in plans. In the event of any rapid change of the infection status and in the capacity of the medical care system, five-party meeting will be held promptly to consider further measures. According to many media outlets, including the Wall Street Journal, the move goes against recommendations made by the country's top medical advisor, who reiterated last week that the safest way to hold the Games will be with no fans at all. Saying over 3.7 million tickets have been sold so far, local authorities underscored that local fans will be subject to strict virus prevention rules, which include not being allowed to cheer, the wearing of face masks at all times, and being asked to return home straight after attending the Games. Against this backdrop, the WHO has noted that infection rates in Japan have been dropping over the past several weeks. Kim Il-san, Arirang News.
With vaccination drives picking up pace across the world, several countries are actively taking steps towards a return to normalcy. In the U.S., a full-capacity live concert was held for the first time in over 15 months. And in Israel, the nation is opening borders to fully vaccinated foreign tourists, lifting quarantine requirements. Choi Min-jung reports.
Live music has rocked back in the United States for the very first time since the COVID-19 outbreak. On Sunday local time, American rock band Foo Fighters became the first to perform live at Madison Square Garden with 100% crowd capacity. The event was fully packed with thousands of people fully vaccinated, maskless, and ready to rock and roll.
A long time coming. Cannot wait to feel the energy. It's one thing to watch music on TV and video, but to feel the bass, to feel the drums, I cannot wait.
To enter the arena, fans were required to verify that they had received the necessary vaccine shots at least 14 days before the show. A few of the concert staff wore masks and hand sanitizers were also placed around the venue. Over in Israel, fully vaccinated foreigners will be able to enter the country without quarantine requirements beginning July 1st. The country's interior minister on Sunday announced that children up to 6 years old will also be exempt from quarantine if their parents have been completely vaccinated. The vaccines that are to be accepted in the country are those developed in the West. Earlier this month, Israel lifted indoor mask mandates, with its vaccination drive remaining one of the fastest in the world. Another country returning a step closer to normalcy is Turkey. The Turkish president said that COVID-19 curbs will be further relaxed starting July 1st. In particular, Sunday lockdowns and night curfews for weekdays will no longer be imposed. Meanwhile, Italy will eliminate outdoor mask requirements for regions designated as white zones, as they possess the lowest infection risks. This will mean that most of the country can go mask-free in outdoor spaces starting next Monday. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
South Korea's producer prices edged up for the 7th consecutive month in May, adding to inflation pressures. The Bank of Korea said Tuesday that its producer price index last month stood at 108.5, up 0.4% from April. The rise was mainly due to higher prices of industrial goods, led by global oil and raw material prices. The central bank said producer prices are likely to show an upward trend throughout July as well, as prices of oil and raw materials are still rising. The EU has imposed more sanctions on Myanmar officials responsible for the February 1st coup and the subsequent crackdown. The sanctions impose travel bans and asset freezes on 8 senior officials, while freezing the assets of 3 economic entities and the War Veterans Organization. The targets also include ministers, deputy ministers, and the Attorney General. The EU accuses them of undermining democracy and the rule of law and for serious human rights violations. Brussels has now imposed sanctions on 43 officials and 6 organizations in Myanmar. BTS mega hit Butter has retained its #1 position on the Billboard's main singles chart for a record 4 consecutive weeks. Butter is now the group's most successful hit song ever, surpassing Dynamite. Lee Seung-jae has the story.
4 weeks. That's the number of consecutive weeks BTS's Butter has sat undisturbed at the pinnacle of the US Billboard Hot 100 chart. After debuting at #1, the all-English single is now the group's most successful #1 hit, surpassing the 3-week run of Dynamite. According to Billboard Monday, Butter drew 12.5 million US streams and sold 111,400 downloads in the week ending June 17th. It also attracted 25.8 million radio airplay audience impressions, up 6% on week. Since its release on May 21st, the vibrant summer hit has topped numerous music charts around the world, including the iTunes Top Songs charts in more than 100 regions. On Spotify, the world's biggest music streaming platform, Butter earned 20.9 million streams on its first day of release, the most streams in a single day in Spotify's history. So it was no surprise when BTS last month became the first group to score a trio of #1 debuts on the Billboard Hot 100 chart with Dynamite, Life Goes On, and Butter. Helping the success of their latest single is a release of 3 remixes, Hotter, Sweeter, and Cooler. And just like its title suggests, there's no hotter, sweeter, and cooler song than Butter right now. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. Similar to South Korea's Red Devils when it comes to soccer, the Netherlands is widely identified with the color orange. They display orange on days of national pride, and their sports team's uniforms are bright orange as well. Whenever the Dutch football team is in action, streets across the Netherlands turn orange too.
People think I'm crazy, but I have a very strange premonition that the Dutch national soccer team will be champions.
Sports fans in Marktweg in The Hague have given the area an extreme makeover, marking the national team's involvement at Euro 2020. In support of the team, over 30 kilometers of orange flags and banners have been used to cover the 750-meter-long street. The street even welcomed Dutch King William Alexander, who visited to admire the decorations. One of the residents said, with the Dutch team already through to the second round, he feels confident that the street won't have to take down the orange flags for a while. Are koalas on the road to extinction? Koalas on the east coast of Australia are under consideration to be classified as endangered. The country has already listed East Coast koalas as vulnerable, as the number of koalas are in decline due to logging, urban encroachment, and the pervasive infection. Also, bushfires across New South Wales and Queensland have hit already struggling koala populations, killing as many as 30%. Experts warn that the country's iconic animal could go extinct by 2050 in New South Wales without recovery efforts. Pine bark, cones, and horse manure are not what you usually expect to step on, but these are just some out of the dozens of surfaces that feature at the newly opened Barefoot Trail, with daring Muscovites taking it on in their bare feet. It's a challenge to adventure through the trail for some.
I don't know, for me it was more of a torture trail than a barefoot trail.
Designers of the trail claim that walking on various surfaces with bare feet massages the feet and improves overall health. Every day, hundreds of visitors attempt to finish the 3-kilometer trail, with some taking 30 to 50 minutes. It costs about $8 each to enter, and the trail will remain open to the public until autumn.
Good morning. We started out with sunny skies, but you need to brace for sudden passing rain today. Showers will linger through dawn tomorrow, while rain could be pouring in southern provinces from tonight into early Wednesday. And we are expecting the capital area to see rain from around the middle of the afternoon. Then the rain will bring temperatures down a couple degrees today, hovering right around the season norms, while the east coast will be even breezier due to easterly winds hovering just above 20 degrees Celsius today. But Jeju will be under sunny skies throughout the day with very strong UV rays, while the rest of us will have lots of cloud coverage in the afternoon with on and off rain showers. Air quality will be normal to good, but ozone levels will be high in the west. Well, keep an umbrella handy. More passing rain is in the forecast for the next couple of days. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That will do it for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Korea's COVID-19 vaccination campaign is well underway, with the vaccination rate rising sharply. At the recent South Korea-US summit, the US government agreed to provide vaccines for